You bought a perfectly good bike 2 years ago. It rides great. Nothing is broken. And somehow, you already feel like it's obsolete. That's not an accident. The cycling industry has spent decades building systems that make your current bike feel old before it should, and most riders never notice it happening. Let's break down exactly how they do it. It starts with standards, or more accurately, the constant rotation of incompatible standards. Think about bottom brackets. In the last 20 years, the cycling industry has cycled through threaded BSA, press-fit BB86, press-fit BB92, PF30, BB386, Evo, T47, and more. Each one requires different tools, different cups, different cranks. When a new standard takes over, your old components don't just become unfashionable, they become genuinely hard to service. Shops stop stocking the parts, manufacturers stop making them. What was a minor maintenance job becomes a treasure hunt. The same story plays out with axle standards. Quick release was the norm for decades. Then through axles arrived, which is a legitimate upgrade. They do improve stiffness and wheel alignment. But instead of landing on one universal through axle standard, brands introduced 12x142, 12x148, Boost, 12x157, Super Boost, 15x100, 15x110, Boost on the front. The list goes on. Your wheel from 3 years ago may not fit a new frame, even if both claim to use through axles. That forces you to either replace the wheel, buy a new hub, or simply buy a new bike. Shimano and SRAM, the two giants who control most of the drivetrain market, are particularly good at this. When SRAM introduced their Eagle 1-2 speed group set, it was genuinely impressive, a 10 to 50 tooth cassette with a massive range. But it came with a catch. Eagle is intentionally incompatible with 1-1 speed components. The chain is different, the cassette interface is different, and the derailleur is tuned specifically for Eagle. So if you wanted to upgrade just one part, say a new rear derailleur, you'd often end up replacing the entire drivetrain to make it work. That's not an accident of engineering. That's a business decision. Shimano plays the same game with their electronic group sets. Die 2 has gone through multiple generations, and each one has changed the connector system. First generation Die 2 used a proprietary junction box and cables that are incompatible with newer components. When a battery or junction box fails on an older Di2 system, you might find the replacement part has been discontinued, leaving you with an expensive paperweight or a forced upgrade. Then there's wheel compatibility, which is quietly one of the most aggressive areas of planned obsolescence in cycling. The push from two 6-inch to 27.5 to two 9-inch wheels in mountain biking happened fast, and brands largely drove it. Forks, frames, and tires were redesigned around new wheel sizes. Two 6-inch bikes, which were dominant as recently as 2012, became nearly impossible to buy quality parts for within just a few years. Tire selection dried up. Fork options disappeared. Riders with perfectly good frames were suddenly stuck. Road cycling has its own version of this, with rim brake versus disc brake. The shift to disc brakes has been slower and more contested, but the effect is the same. Bike brands have gradually pulled resources away from rim brake development. High-end rim brake group sets are being discontinued. New aeroframe designs are built exclusively around disc brake geometry and cable routing. The message is clear. This is where the industry is going, and your rim brake bike is along for a slow fade. Proprietary parts are another major lever. Walk into any bike shop and try to find a replacement handlebar or stem for a Canyon, Specialized, Trek, or Cervelo top-end model. Many of these bikes ship with cockpit systems, handlebars, stems, and sometimes headsets that are integrated and brand-specific. If the handlebar cracks or you want a different width, you're not heading to your local shop to grab a standard 31.8mm bar. You're ordering a proprietary part from the brand, at the brand's price, on the brand's timeline. Some of these integrated cockpits cost $400 to $600 to replace, and if the model is discontinued, you may find yourself without any option at all. Tire clearance standards have followed a similar playbook. Gravel bikes went from 35mm tire clearance to 40mm to 45mm to 50mm over the span of about 5 years. Each generation of frame made the previous one feel limiting. The tires themselves didn't change dramatically, the same rubber compounds, the same tread patterns, but the marketing framing made last year's clearance feel inadequate for proper adventure riding. Software is the newest frontier. As bikes incorporate more electronics, suspension lockouts, electronic shifting, power meter calibration, firmware, and app compatibility becomes a real issue. Some brands have already discontinued support for older Bluetooth sensors and head units, meaning features stop working even though the hardware is fine. This is the cycling industry borrowing directly from the smartphone playbook, and it's only going to accelerate. Here's what's important to understand. Some of this is genuine progress. Through axles really are better than quick release for performance riding. 1X drivetrains really do simplify things. Hydraulic disc brakes really do outperform rim brakes in the wet. The cycling industry does innovate, but the pace of those changes and the deliberate incompatibility built into each new standard goes well beyond what actual performance gains would require. It's calibrated to create purchasing pressure. The riders who understand this system can make smarter decisions. Buying one generation behind the cutting edge often gets you 90% of the performance at 60% of the price, with far better parts availability. Choosing bikes with industry-standard components over proprietary systems gives you more flexibility down the road. And being skeptical of standards changes that offer marginal, real-world gains like the shift to boost spacing, which added 3mm of width to each side of the hub, helps you avoid being an early adopter of someone else's experiment. The bike you have right now is probably not obsolete. The industry just needs you to believe it is.